Hey, this is Billy, the Permaculture Pimp Daddy at Perma Pastures Farm. Today we're going to discuss something that I've been getting a lot of questions about, and it hasn't necessarily been on YouTube, but it has been on my text messages on my phone. And that is concerning where to put things. I'm getting questions about what should go here, what should go there, how do I situate it all together, how does it fit together? Well, we're going to discuss that in terms of the zones in permaculture, and we're going to talk about all about that today. And I'm going to put to rest, or at least help out some of those people that are blowing up my phone all the time asking about where do I put this, where do I put that. And these are wonderful, awesome questions, and we're going to discuss it in great detail today about where to put what.
All right, so right now we're in zone 0, and zone 0 is where you live. That's going to be everybody's zone 0. Some people only have a zone 0 in the form of an apartment or a condo or something like that. Now, if you only have a zone 0 and you have like a south-facing balcony, you can still grow quite a bit. Even if you only have a zone 0, you can still do quite a bit, like a earthship. Their zone 0 includes a greenhouse on the south side of the house. So with that greenhouse, you're able to grow fruit trees and perennials and annuals and stuff like that.
Okay, welcome to Zone 1. And we're filming it from this direction so you can kind of get some understanding of the proximity from Zone 1 to, let's say, Zone 0. Now, behind me, obviously, that's the front porch. So you want the things in Zone 1 that are going to require the most attention. Your kitchen garden, maybe your herb garden, or things that you need to visit quite often. So the things that you harvest out here, the things that you need most, you're going to want them in very close proximity. Let's say it's your little greenhouse. Let's say you're starting seeds. These are the things that you want in the closest proximity. Now, keep in mind, these zones, all the way up to zone 5, in many ways is based on how you determine what's in that zone and its proximity is your need to visit it, or how often it may need your attention. For example, baby chicks, they're going to need a lot of attention. So you're not going to put them in zone 1. You're going to put them in zone 0. In our case, we'll put them in our garage. There have been times in the past where we didn't have that benefit and we had to make a compromise and put them in zone 1. And I think Jason from Sow the Land recently did that very thing. So with that said, these things that we visit regularly are within the zone 1.
All right, so this is zone 2, and zone 2 needs to be a place that you visit daily or at least a few times a week. Now for us, zone 2 is our driveway. It provides access to the entire length of our property, gives an easy place to walk or drive, or it just gives us easy access to the entire length of the property. So in our zone 2, we have a greenhouse, a barn. Our chickens and sheep are actually pretty close to zone 2. Our orchard is in zone 2, and our syntropic design is also all in zone 2 because our driveway gives us easy access to those areas. People typically put a main crop or a tree crop in zone 2 because it requires a little bit less maintenance than your kitchen garden or anything like that. And your tree crop could eventually go into zone 3 once it becomes mature.
Okay, so here we are in zone 3. It can be confusing with zone 2. Now, the things in zone 3, you're going to go maybe once, maybe twice a week. So they can be things like our bees, for example. We don't visit them really. They don't require a whole lot of interaction. Even your more mature food forest or your orchards can be in those areas as well. And they can even be places where you graze your animals. Now, for us, our zone 2, and I'm afraid I might get too deep in the weeds here, but our zone 2 and our zone 3 are almost hand in hand depending on where we're moving these animals. Because remember, in this system, the thing we do, nothing is ever static. Things are constantly moving. So they may very well, let's say the sheep and the chickens may very well be in zone 2 one day, and then because of their proximity from the road, could very well be in zone 3. It's really not that big a deal. Now keep in mind, these zones are not concentric. You don't start with zone 0 in your house and then concentric circles. And we'll explain that in closer detail as we get into zone 5. Your zone 5 can border right up to the back of your house as it does with ours. It's all a matter of, your terrain can dictate a lot of this stuff. The way the sunlight falls in some of these places could dictate that too. But don't overthink it. Just remember the things that you use most. For example, a chicken tractor. We once worked with a guy, dead serious, that insisted on putting not only the chicken tractors, but the chicken houses in zone 5. And if you know anything about permaculture, and he claimed to be a rather accomplished permaculture designer, if you know anything about permaculture, you know that is a colossal mistake. And it proved to be, because feral dogs killed all of them.
All right, so this is zone 4, and zone 4 is an area that you visit irregularly. It could be a place where you harvest wood posts. You could harvest trees here and mill them up into lumber and stuff like that. And you can also turn zone 4 into zone 3 by, properly managing animals through here. You could turn this new growth forest into silvopasture and have your animals graze there and eventually turn it into zone 3. Zone 4 is just a place that you don't visit very often. Might be on the edge of your property, or it might be, another thing you can do with zone 4 is use it as a wildfire barrier. So you cut away all the new brush, pull it away, and then the bigger, more mature trees are actually harder to catch on fire than the new growth brush. So it could act as a wildfire barrier as well.
Okay, this is zone 5, but strangely enough, there's, from where I'm standing to the edge of the back of my house is literally 8 feet. So just to kind of go and explain this in close-up detail, is that your zones aren't necessarily, don't imagine it as a concentric circle around your home, because it's anything but. Other things come into play, like in this case, topography. This is so doggone steep. Trust me, a goat would have enough, well, a goat wouldn't have a problem getting up here, neither would the sheep. But essentially, these are the places that you very, very, very seldom use. These are the places where you go to nature to learn, to figure out how it's done in nature so you can replicate it. And you leave it pristine. You don't mess with it. You don't touch it. Now, it can be developed. Now, in time, this zone 5 is probably going to jump into zone 2, perhaps even zone 3. As we develop more and more, and as things progress, we have plans for the back of this thing, despite how steep it is. But right now, we're treating it as zone 5. Okay, zone 5, folks, in a nutshell, is a wilderness area. You don't mess with it. You just observe. That's really what you do. And not everybody has a zone 5, but you probably have access to one, which means you drive somewhere where you can get this sort of thing. And honestly, folks, this is the place where it's most fulfilling to me, where I go for hikes, places where I want to just bond with nature. This is where you do it. You can do it everywhere, but this is where I think you find the most benefit for that. Back where we started, folks, these zones help. I can't begin to tell you the examples I know of, like I said, somebody taking a chicken tractor and putting it in the zone 5 and wondering why some feral dog killed them all. Or somebody who's afraid of snakes putting their kitchen garden in zone 3 or 4. These are examples I'm personally aware of. Folks, these zones help your life out. They help you out. And they make your life very, very simple. I'm a very efficient, I try to be as efficient as I can. And when things aren't efficient, I lose my mind. So these zones help. They just make perfect, good sense. So take what you can, absorb it, toss out what isn't beneficial to you. Until next time, this is Billy, the Permaculture Pimp Daddy, along with my son, the Pasture Raised Pimp, where PIMP stands for Permaculture is my passion, because it really is. We'll see you next time.